Hey guys, so welcome back. If you are new, I cannot wait for this video because I am going to be telling you every book that I just love so much, and I genuinely think about them once like every week, maybe every day, which is kind of crazy and is also probably not healthy. But yeah, a lot of people have wanting to see what my favorite books are that I've ever read. These are just books that might not necessarily be a 5-star, but these are just books that I genuinely love. Like, most of them are a 5-star, but there are a few in here that are just like 4.5, and I genuinely do think about them a lot as well. So we have fantasy, literary fiction, historical fiction, thrillers, and then like a dystopian sci-fi section. So yeah, those are all the genres I'm going to be talking about in today's video. So you'll get a recommendation, you'll get what I love. So yeah, let's start with fantasy. So for me, fantasy is probably one of my favorite genres that I read. You guys know this. The first one is Gallant by V. Schwab. I love this book so much. It's kind of like a gothic fantasy type of book. I don't know how to really explain it. For this book, we're following our main character, Olivia, and she's actually mute, so she cannot talk. And I really love the perspective of that, first of all. But she is kind of living in this orphanage. So her parents left her there when she was really young, and she's like a teenager. I don't know how old she is though, but basically what happens is that she gets this letter to go to this house called Gallant, which is a kind of a family-owned house that she had never heard of before. She just goes to it because obviously she does not like this orphanage. She gets picked on and mistreated, and it's very sad. But yeah, and she just goes to this house, and that's kind of where the story continues. And it's just, the vibes of this book is so just amazing, and it just gives me like kind of Halloween vibes, and I don't know, it's just like a perfect fall time book. So definitely recommend this one for the fall. You guys know I love this one so much. This is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This was my first 5-star of 2024. I annotated this book so much. I don't know if you can see it, but I love this book. If you haven't read it yet, please do. I have multiple shorts about it and the aesthetic and stuff like that. But we follow our main two characters, which is Peyton and Kai. Kai is this prince, and I'm gonna read the quotes on the back of the book because I think they just describe their characters very well. So for Kai, he is a prince, an elite, and an enforcer. So elite is like, he has powers. And then for Peyton, she's a thief, she's an ordinary, and she's a survivor. So she doesn't have any powers. It is a enemies to lovers, and there's some politics, and there's some just chaos. This book reminds a lot of people about Hunger Games, and I totally see that. So yeah, I annotated this book so much. I really want to do a reread already. Love it so much. Finally, for fantasy, is the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. You guys know how much I love this book as well, specifically the second one. Please just read this series just to get to that book because it's amazing. I don't absolutely love the first one, but it's just the atmosphere and the world is amazing. If you've ever read Heartless by Marissa Meyer, I just read that recently, and I think it gives off like the same world vibes. So if you liked Heartless, or if you like this series, read Heartless. I don't know. But this is about Evangeline Fox, and she has made a deal with Jax, which is a kind of a fae, kind of god person. She makes this plan with Jax to stop her love of her life's wedding because he's getting married. And yeah, that's where we start off, and it's so random, but there's little mini dragons, and there's just magic, and this world is just absolutely one of my favorite worlds to be in ever. So please read it. Next, we're gonna go into literary fiction. We read The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. This book is so good. Like, so good. It's very short read. It's like less than 200 pages. Yeah, less than 200 pages. Following this old man, and in the beginning of the book, he dies. So plot twist, Not really, it says on the back of the book. But he dies and he goes to heaven, but first he has to meet 5 different people that either he have impacted in his life or he's impacted in their lives. And it's just so good. We follow just him meeting these people and figuring out like how he impacted their lives or how they impacted his life, and what a little meeting, a little encounter of one person can change something so drastically in a person's life. And it's just absolutely insane. And I cried, I was angry, I was happy, I was sad. Oh my goodness, I love this book so much, and it's been so long since I read it, but I definitely want to reread it very soon. Next literary fiction book I did just read a few days ago. It is called The Great Alone by Christine Hanna. I've heard about this author and her writing so many times, but I've just been so hesitant to pick up her books because literary fiction is not kind of my top genre to usually pick from. So when I picked this book up and loved it, I was like, maybe I have to continue reading this genre. But yeah, so it's about this family who moves to Alaska. In the middle of nowhere, she just literally moves to Alaska with her family, and they just try to live, which is very hard because if you don't know, Alaska, it gets very dark in the winters and you get like 16 hours of night and like a few hours of light, so it's very hard and just to live up there, just to live in Alaska. So we follow that, and there's a little romance going on as well. Just, it's so heart-wrenching, and the ending was insane, and I was crying and I was happy. The ending was so good. I just got to see something I wanted to happen the whole book. I was just, thank God that ending happened, because I think I would be so sad if it didn't. I was just like hoping for like the last 50% of this book, like that would happen. Like, please let that happen, and it did, and I'm so happy it did. But yeah, we just follow this girl, and she just lives in Alaska. There's just so much more that goes on in this book, but there's family drama, it's just so good. Like, please read it. I gave it 5 stars as well. Next, let's do historical fiction. I don't read this genre very much, but I do sometimes. First, we have the Things We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros. I read this book, was it this year? It might have been last year, I don't remember. But I did like it. Definitely not like a 5 stars, but I did think the war aspect of this was very interesting, and the ending was insane. I think I gave this book like a 4.5 stars, but there's a past and present timeline with this person's grandmother and then their timeline. So yeah, it's just oh my god, it's so good. Like, please read it if you like historical fiction and you like romance and you like to look like this when you finish a book. Please read this book. The next book is Allies by Ellen Grant. I just read this one recently as well, and I really loved it. I thought that his last book I read by him as well was amazing, which was the Prisoner one. I forgot what it was called, but it was so good, that last one. So I wanted to read more of his, and I picked up this one. So glad I did. I thought it was so good. We follow, I'm pretty sure, yeah, 4 different characters. So we follow Dee, which he's a soldier. Sonera, she works as a spy. James, he works as a pilot, and then Henry is a medic. So we follow those characters, and the ending was amazing as well. It's like kind of a happy ending for like a war book, which is confusing, but very cool. And we basically follow these characters on D-Day on the island, and it's so good. Like how the characters like interact, which we didn't think they would interact in the beginning, but they did. It was so good. I give this book a 4 stars, and definitely one of my favorite historical fictions I've ever read. So please give this one a try if you like those. Next, let's do thrillers. Stay Awake by Megan Golden. You guys know how much I love this book. I talk about it so much. I read it last year, but we follow this girl named Liv. She wakes up in this taxi cab. She didn't know how she got there. She doesn't know where she's going. She doesn't know who the person is that she's driving the car with. She doesn't have her purse. She doesn't have her phone. She's literally just in a taxi going somewhere. She's like, what? Okay, well, that's where our story starts off. Very, very interesting plot. I think this one just had kind of a slower paced, but it was just like angsting up into the big plot twist, which was insane as well. Like, what? But I don't know, just very good thriller. Top 5 thrillers of last year. Very good. Next one, which I've talked about a little bit on this channel, but is Hidden Pictures by Jason Reluca. I love the ending of this book, and the plot twists was just insane. I literally read this book in a day as well. But we're following this like nanny house sitter Mallory, and she goes to this house, and they have this little boy lives there with his parents, obviously, and he's just kind of weird. He's just like odd. He's just out of it. He's like, I didn't want to move here in the first place. I'm done with this new town. Let's go home. Obviously they're not going to do that, so he just draw these random pictures because that's what he does in his free time, I guess. That's one of them. But he's just an odd kid, and it was very sad, honestly, in the end, because it was just shocking. Okay, I love this book. 5 stars from last year. Definitely top 3 from last year. Lastly, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. Y'all know this series is amazing. Specifically, the last book, As Good as Dead, is probably my favorite, but I do love all of them. I think her writing is just insane, and her plot twist throughout the whole book is just insane as well. But we follow our main character, Pip, and she is doing this school project for, like, kind of her last school project before she goes to college, and she wants to do this project about a girl that was murdered in the town that she lives in, and she wants to just investigate it because she doesn't think what happened was right, or did the cops just kind of give up. And yeah, that's what the first book follows, but the other 2 books in the series follow something else in a different plot line. Yeah, but it's so good. You guys know this. You guys know. I don't think I've met a single person who hasn't read this book yet, but if you haven't, please do. Finally, we're doing the last stack. So this one is kind of like science fiction and dystopian. The Maze Runner by James Dashner. Very YA, very just young adult book, very short, very easy to fly through, but it's so good. I just think about these characters literally so much. Insane. But this is a trilogy, but there's also 2 other books that are like prologues. I don't really know what those are. I haven't read them yet. Let me know if I should. I don't know. Thomas wakes up in this kind of like lift, like an elevator kind of, and the only thing he can remember is his name. He's also surrounded by strangers. He's never met them before, and they're also all boys whose memories are lost as well. He's kind of like in this towering like box that's like super tall. It's called the Glade, and around this like center box there's a maze, and the only way out supposedly is to get through that maze. And the past like 2 years, the people in this glade has been trying to get out of it, but haven't been able to. But Thomas shows up and he does something. So definitely very, very good. I think the first one is my favorite book, but I love the second 2 movies because there are movie adaptations. Love those so much because I think that they followed it pretty well. Obviously not completely, but still so good. Definitely recommend The Maze Runner. Renegades, y'all know I love this book so much. I have an obsession, I think, with the characters. But basically we're following our main character Nova, and she is this kind of villain, but she has superpowers. She kind of goes under this spy mission to get to the Renegades, which is kind of like the superheroes. They kind of have this like academy thing, like the superhero clan. I don't really know, but she goes undercover there to get information and to get this one weapon that the villains really want. There's betrayals. This is also a trilogy as well, so just so much world building. It's very character driven, but there's also a lot of plot. There's just a whole lot in this series because these books are massive, but I love them. Also, I'm really tired, so like none of my words are making sense, but that was the last book I had to talk about. Hope you guys liked this video. If you did, like and subscribe. Please read these books. I definitely recommend literally all of these books so much. If there was a book in this stack here that you thought was interesting, please read it because they are all so good, and I highly recommend all of these books. If you're wanting just any of these genres, please read them. I hope you like this video. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.